Aloha, Martita here with Light Diamond Creative Podcast Season 2. Pew, 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 pew. Season 2, baby. Season 2 of the podcast. Season 2 of the podcast on Light Diamond Creative YouTube channel. And this season, coming to a YouTube channel near you at Light Diamond Creative, it is the pew, 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 Awakening Audiobiography. Yes, very excited. Very excited about this information. It's been a long time coming. Thank you for listening. I am so glad that you're here. I would like to give a shout out to the first podcast season, which is called the Meditation Audio Series. That is where we kicked it all off with content production towards the podcast. And it was a really amazing season. We began it with the science of meditation and went over aspects of the 9-chakra system. You were given free meditations, baby, and all of that was great. We ended the season on asking the question, would an ascended master such as Buddha or Jesus ever tell someone to F off or kiss their ass? I'm not sorry. It's worth pondering, okay? Don't we all come to a point of being red hot mad where, we're not going to do any harm. We never hurt anybody, but we might want to tell someone off. And, what is the actions someone like an ascended master who has achieved enlightenment, what would they do? What would Jesus do? What would Buddha do? So feel free to go listen to that episode wrapping up season 1. That is episode 17. Yep. And here we are with the Awakening Audiobiography. This is an attempt to capture the awakening journey of one spirit, yours truly, through a biological lens. Yeah, you heard that right. I have been documenting a large portion of the awakening journey, and now it is time to continue sharing on that because many of us here on Earth are going through an awakening process, and it seems like this process is pretty continuous. So it might be nice to share information, share stories and perspectives, points of view on what the awakening journey is. And now I will ask that question. What is the awakening journey? I would say, and feel free to disagree or share your own perspective in the comments, the awakening journey seems to be an awakening of the spirit about the world around them and about the untapped nature of the individual and collective. The awakening journey seems to be a journey towards enlightenment. It seems to be the spirit's way of remembering, who we are, the spirit's way of remembering what we came here for. And it can be triggered or started by a few different things, especially in relation to the context of religion. There are many of us who have experienced religion in one way or another. Religion is a prominent aspect of life on Earth, and there are many different religions that convey a lot of the same points through parables and storytelling, and also different perspectives that offer variety among the different religions. And so maybe for a lot of us, the spiritual awakening process begins when we decide to question the dogma of religion that is present in our environmental context where we are at any given point in time. And I would also say about awakening that it seems other places in the world, I'm in the US, quote unquote united. I am in the place where we would like to be the United States, and in this context, we have a, a big influence of Christianity, mostly like, I grew up in the Bible Belt, so that would be a lot of Baptist influence, a lot of influence of Methodist, Presbyterian, and that is my direct local environment where I grew up. And I would say that Christianity is so, now I'm going to use the word programmed, but I'm not meaning that everything within the programming is bad. There are a lot of amazing programs or lessons, teachings within the Bible and within these small sects of religion. And then there's some questionable stuff, okay? So I think that the awakening journey is when someone comes to a point of autonomy, a point of thinking independence to be able to question, again, the dogma, question the perspectives, question the programming. And I think that is definitely one of the aspects of awakening. Awakening to the reality around us, awakening to the programming at large. Again, not all of it is bad, but oh my gosh. So let me give the context. And again, this is a discussion, so feel free to enter your input into the comments and see where that takes us. My particular family, although I have grown up in a really largely Baptist style influence, my parents, neither of them grew up in the Bible Belt. Neither of them grew up in the region that is so affected by strict, literal interpretation of the Bible. The line I came from, well, on one side, the family moved around a lot. On one side, they had exposure to many different ways of life around the world. And on that side of the family, the exposure to different perspectives, I think, was part of their spiritual awakening before I even came onto the planet. And so what that tells me, first of all, is that someone who is exposed to many cultures, someone who is exposed to many different perspectives, religions, spiritualities, ways of life, someone who is exposed to that, all of that, is able to have a broader view in general. And so I would say that, yes, on that side of my family, that drastically influenced the religious upbringing that I experienced, which was not going to Baptist church. And so even though we were in the Bible Belt and most of the families around us were going to Baptist church, and I did go a couple times, I had some sleepovers where the deal was we had to go to church the next day. And I'm not one to say no to listening to a perspective, although I did not prefer to go repeatedly, especially after experiencing pastors say that people who are gay go to hell. That was a red flag for me. That was a beginning, perhaps, of my spiritual awakening, was saying, I don't feel aligned with that. And I don't think that's true. I don't think it's true that people who are gay to go to hell. In fact, I have an entirely different concept of what hell is entirely than the Baptist community, for better or for worse. And so that being a red flag, again, beginning of an awakening process at a very young age, beginning to question. So on my other side of the family, there was the context of a Midwestern Christian upbringing. And I would say that a Midwestern United States Christian upbringing is different than a Baptist Southern Bible Belt Christian style. So those were the main two influences on me when it came to religion and spirituality and my upbringing. And we can see that the perspectives of the two that I came from were not so strict and not so Old Testament when it comes to a way of living in a community who we accept and reject. A little more towards the unconditional love side, little more towards the loving God. We'll keep it there. So that their experience, my parents' experience, how they grew up in the world, that affects all. Your parents and how they got brought in the world affects how they brought you up. And you and I are both shaped by the experiences of our family. And then we grow to a point of being able to readjust ourselves into what feels good for us personally. And there's all sorts of space for that, which is cool. And that is more along the lines of spirituality than religion. So growing up in that context, on one side, Midwestern Christianity, on the other side, more spiritual, more exposed to many different cultures, many different religions. Those influences on me while I was in high school, even before that, when I was a little kid. So I grew up playing outside a lot, and I love nature, hence why I'm a biologist. And I remember being in 5th grade, and as a 5th grader, being on the bus with the teacher, the bus driver, and all the students, and someone making a comment about evolution being stupid or something like that, that concept being stupid. It was a programming from the Baptist Christian influence to disregard a potential way that humans have come to be where we are at today. And even as a 5th grader, somehow, I don't know how, I knew and subscribed to the idea of evolution, that things change over time and that the world is not 6,000 years old, that the world is much, much, much older than that. And it made sense to me even then that because of the grand scale of time and because of the effort of life toward many different directions, there are multiple potentials for how one species can be manifested depending on the behavior of that species, the choices of that species, and also mutations within the genetics of that. Parts of that made sense to me as a 5th grader. I remember being on the bus and saying something like that, probably more basic, or maybe saying that we have evolved along the same line as other apes. And I remember the kid in the bus who heard me, he called the teacher, I'll use a different name for the teacher. He was like, Miss Addison, Miss Addison. And she turns around. I'm in like the 5th seat. Miss Addison, Martha thinks we came from monkeys. And she just looked at me. She just shook her head and turned back around. I was like, what's the big deal? That's what I thought. It's not what I said. It's what I thought. What is the big deal? And how does one begin to describe the demonstration of evolution over time to someone who is closed off to it even being a possibility? That was an experience in 5th grade. And so then I got into high school. And in high school, I was an AP student, advanced courses, and, taking AP English, AP Literature, AP Biology, pre-AP, all those classes. And so I also, as a freshman, took a physics class. It was like basic physics, including math and the movement of objects through space and measuring their velocity and things like this. So I remember being in this class and the dogma of Baptist Christianity being so thick around me that it almost got to the point where I didn't understand how belief in God could happen at the same time as science. And this is a large concept that is played out on a societal level. A lot of us have been programmed to believe that one or the other, not both. There's no way. However, I was trying to, grapple this idea because I really felt science and math to be a numerical representation of truth. So how do they go together? I asked my physics teacher, I remember on the way out of class one day, I said, if all of this is true, if you believe in science, then what about God? And my teacher said something like this to me. Find a way to make peace with both coexisting. And I thought, okay, all right, I'm gonna put that back on the back burner. That made me feel a little bit better because I felt a little bit like an oddball when it came to perspectives in general. And so thought about that for a while. And it's so funny now because here I am much further down my awakening path, giving words to the experience that is both scientific and spiritual, giving words to a spiritual experience that can be proven through the demonstration of spirit and the analysis of science, new concepts being able to be revealed because we finally have the technology and perspectives to speak on that realm where they blend together. Science and spirituality, baby. That's what this is all about. That's episode 1 for podcast season 2, the Awakening Audiobiography by yours truly, an attempt to capture the awakening journey of the one spirit through this biological lens of mine. Yes, this is episode 1. Thanks for listening. Tune in next. Episode 2 coming in hot. Let go. Peace.